Okay, this is a continuation of the video where we're going to use the indices rule to simplify expressions. So we are looking at page 3, example 3. Now this particular question has given us an equation and they want us to evaluate 10 power x. So first thing to ask yourself, what does it mean to evaluate, right? Evaluate means the question wants us to find the value. So in this case, they want us to find the value of 10 power x. In other words, the final answer is going to look like this. 10 power x equals to some number. So that's what we're going to work towards. So now let's look at the equation. Now the equation, the operations are both multiplication. So that's good because that means our rules of indices can be applied here to combine them together. However, in order to apply the rules, right, either the base or the power must be the same. However, here the base on the left hand side, for example, is 2 and 5. 8 can be written as 2 cubed, so base is 2 and 5 as well. So I can't combine these two terms together and these two terms together. So I need to think of how else I can deal with this. But I do realize that this 2 power something and 2 power something can be combined if I write them on the same side of the equation. Similarly, these two can be combined together. Okay, so let's keep this in mind. Next question to ask yourself is, how are we going to end up with 10 power x? I saw 2, I saw 5, 8. Yeah, these are the numbers I saw in the equation. How am I going to end up with 10 power x? So let's think about, is there another way for us to write 10 power x? And keeping in mind that the numbers in this question are revolving around base 2 and base 5. So then you will realize that actually 10 power x can be written as 2 times 5 power x, which means at some point or in the question, you will probably see a 2 power x and a 5 power x appearing. Once you see this, that means the power is the same. Therefore, I can write it as 10 power x. So that's probably how we should work in this question. Okay, one last thing to keep in mind before we start the question is that when the question say find the value of 10 power x, right, the right hand side, right, is just going to be a number. There shouldn't be any more x. So basically, all the terms with x should be on one side of the equation. Anything without x should be on the other side of the equation. Then we can try to figure out what is 10 power x. Okay, so keeping all these in mind, let's now take a look at the question. Now, as we start, what I'm going to do is to just rewrite everything with the base that we have identified, which is base 2 and base 5. Next, the strategy was everything with base 2 I can combine, everything with base 5 I can combine. So I'm just going to move the terms with base 2 to one side and the terms with base 5 to the other side. Okay, this is so that I can group the terms by common base, which means now I can apply my rule. If I divide, the powers are subtracted. So that's how I end up with negative x plus 2 here. Similarly here, I subtract the powers. But just be careful here, we are subtracting x minus 1. Which means it becomes minus x, 2x minus x, and then plus 1. Okay, so you end up with x plus 1. Okay, so now we have ended up with this. It looks a little neater. Everything is now with either base 2 or base 5. And then remember the next thing I talked about was how if I want to find 10 power x, one side should just be numbers. So what I'm going to do is to just split this so that I can move the terms with x to one side and the numbers to the other side. Okay, so this means I'm going to shift this to this side, and then this I'm going to divide on both sides. Okay, so what I have done is basically everything with x is on one side, everything without x is on the other side. Okay, so I just did some manipulation of the equation so that it looks like this. Now if you realize, right, that we are almost close to the answer already. This is the line that we are trying to work towards, and you will notice that the right hand side looks very similar to that. It's just that because of this negative power, it's going to look like this. And divide by 1 over 2 power x is the same as times 2 power x. So I have not done anything to this side. So basically 10 power x is equals to 4 over 5. Okay, take some time to look through the strategy that we have used for this question, because this is actually going to be a useful strategy for many questions. So I'm just going to quickly run through what we have done. The first thing we did was to group the terms with the same base first. So on the left hand side was all the base 2, right hand side was all the base 5. Then we can use our laws to simplify the powers. The next thing I did was to break away the powers with x on one side and the powers with just numbers on the other side. Okay, so that's what we did here. All the x on one side, all the numbers on the other side. Then, because now we have same power, we can combine these two together using our law 4 from just now. So then that gives us the value of 10 power x.